Hello guys, welcome to our channel Speak Life, and we are so happy to come again from Netherlands.
Yes.
Today we are going to talk about how to deal with disappointment. I think that's a very good topic to start with.
That's a good
because
one.
Also we had some requests about that topic, but also in general we face disappointment.
I think everybody can relate to disappointment in life, and I think everyone has at least once in their life, but probably more than that, had to deal with disappointment. And for us, certainly also, we've had plenty of disappointing situations and encounters in life. And let's share a little bit. Maybe we don't necessarily have to go into so much detail of what those disappointments were. Maybe some we can, and then just how did we deal with it, and
also how we can encourage other people, those who are watching, how they can deal with it. So when we talk about disappointment, well, disappointment from people for sure. It could be from the leaders, it could be from our even teachers, or the people that we do life in general, like friends, and also family. Those are really close to us. And also we have, because we live in this world, we have expectations.
This is what I also wanted to say. We have to start with, where does disappointment come from? It's unsatisfied expectations, I would say. We expect something out of people, out of situations, out of institutions, work, whatever it might be. We have expectations, which is not wrong. But I'm saying, because of our expectations and people or situations not fulfilling those expectations, makes us disappointed.
Yes.
And so maybe we can first talk a little bit about having expectations, having maybe also appropriate expectations. Because as I said, having expectations is not wrong generally. But let's say in a marriage, if I expect you to read my mind without me saying anything. And I think many times we women, we think, well, he should know. We are married for 19 years now, so he should know how I'm thinking. He should know what I expect, and he should know da-da-da-da-da. And then you don't fulfill those expectations that I have. I get disappointed. And, then maybe I crumble, or I get, a little snappy at you, or whatever it is. But basically, it's because it's not really because of your behavior. It's because of my expectation and not communicating my
that's
expectation.
What I wanted to say, yes.
Right?
And I think this is one of the biggest problem, I think, in many situations, or in many situation, because I think we have a problem of communication. And I think this is one of the problem, because there are, in many, let's say talking about marriage or in many relationships, there are many situations where the spouse or the other person are not happy because the expectations are not met. And in most of the time, it was the communication line was not clear. And I think this is like one of the biggest, I think, frustration for the partners, partners in the sense of in any relationship, because talking about us, I am not God, and I am not, so to say, AI, where I can read your mind and understand what
AI cannot read my mind either.
Yes, in a sense like that. I don't, but I don't know everything that is going on in your mind. And I think one of the things that I learned like many years ago, and I think it's very true. There's a book about, let's not talk about that book, but I don't want to advertise anything, but we men think like a box. We think this way, and then we just go from one box to another, or one situation to another situation. And when we carry on from one situation to another situation, we have already forgotten the last situation. We are focusing on where we are. And I think in that way, maybe I may be wrong. I'm not saying that I'm 100% sure, but I think women are generally think this way. You think from the morning until the evening, and then you just think about like, why my husband did not do this morning. He gave me coffee, but then it was not the way he usually you know what I mean? And it was just kind of very lot of unreal expectations that was not communicated
Yeah.
to you, and then what happened, you carry on the whole day, even at your work, at your play, wherever you go, and
Yeah.
then we go down to bed very unfulfilled, you know. And this is one way of disappointment we face in life.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you are like that, but in
Yeah, yeah.
general, like, not necessarily women are like that. Maybe there are men who think like that too, you
Yeah.
know, that we carry on. And then what happened is we never really spoke about what was hurting me, what was going on in my life that I need to share with you.
Yeah.
And then you just go down, you know, to your bed or whatever. You get up the morning, the next day you just carry on your life. And then what happens is when you don't communicate for this so many years, then it's like a bomb that is built up in you.
Yeah.
And then one day it will explode, and then that's
Yeah,
where the
years.
marriage.
That's crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, even days is enough. If
And-
you carry for many days and you
Yes.
don't speak about what's going on, your unfulfilled expectations, your disappointment, that's what I learned, you know. If I, you know me, if I'm feeling something, if I'm, you know, upset or whatever, if I feel a disappointment, I will say it, you know, and I will just,
Bluntly.
I will just vomit it out. That's what I say. I just say it.
Well, she did not literally vomit it.
The words.
The word.
And, you know, then I'm good. Like, I feel like the moment I'm able to communicate,
Yeah.
I feel that much better already. So if you really don't communicate, I can imagine that it's making you sick from the inside also,
Yes.
you know? So
Yeah.
it's not just a disappointing feeling, but it becomes really almost like a cancer growing inside of you,
Yeah.
you know, the disappointment, the bitterness, it turns into bitterness
Yes.
against someone because that person is not fulfilling your
And-
expectations or stepping up to, you know, the plate that you want him
Yes.
to behave or certain things like that. So again, it boils down to communicating your expectations. And I remember in the very beginning of, even I think it's before we got married,
Yeah.
we told about this before that I asked him like 100 questions
Yes.
or probably more than that. But one of the things was also, which was very important to me, is like, what are you, Pame, Tankul Naga, you know, expecting of me, a German wife,
Yeah.
to like, what do you expect of me as a wife?
Yeah.
As a mother,
Yeah.
how do you want the marriage to be? How do you want our family to be? Like, how am I supposed to be with your family? And you know, my expectations of him being with my family, and how, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
so just the expectations that
Yeah.
he had of me, which I think he never really thought about, but they
Yes.
were certainly
But
there.
it was like a storm in my life, you know, when
Yes, so
those questions
you know,
came,
I
you know?
just
Yeah.
wanted to know, like, what do you expect? And also, I wanted him to know what I'm expecting. And
Yeah.
I think when that was clear, not that after that
Yeah.
everything was, you know,
Yeah.
stars and sunshine, but when the expectations were clear, then we could talk about it. I could say, oh, this is what you expect. Okay, that's interesting because for me,
didn't-
this
yeah.
means that. And
Yeah.
then we kept on talking and communicating about it. But we heard of many other, you know, couples, especially cross-cultural, where they never had these kinds of conversations. You know, they didn't talk about expectations.
Yeah.
And coming from such different backgrounds, it can lead to a lot of disappointments and
Yes.
you know, frustrations.
Yes.
And not that we didn't have those. We certainly had so many. I think first year of marriage was really hard because then you're faced with, you know, everything. But at the same time, I think we should never stop communicating because also expectations change,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. We
because
grow,
we don't
yeah, we
really know
change.
at the age
Yeah.
of 20, 25. I don't know the expectation of how it's going to be when we are in our 40s, 50s, 60s, when we become parents and grandparents and, you know, all of that.
We haven't
So,
arrived
yeah.
at yet, so let's leave that one. But I think
But have to keep
yeah.
talking about.
Yes, and I think that's
Yeah.
very important what you say. Like, communication is not just a one-time thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's an ongoing thing, and I think we should never stop communicating. And sometimes it seems silly in a sense. It's such a small deal, but actually, when it comes to relationship, it's never a small deal.
Yeah.
You know, because all small things really add up. to have a better relationship with anybody in terms of marriage, in terms of relationship with even our family as well. And I think that's why communication and also being able to communicate so clearly.
Yeah.
I think that's so important, which I struggle sometimes because my communication line is not so clear. Sometimes I think something and I say something else, and then sometimes my kids even point out, "Hey, Papa, you're not saying properly." So I think learning to communicate properly is so important. And I mean, the fact that we have, our marriages the way we are is because we also learn to communicate, and we have not arrived to a place where we are perfect, but it's an ongoing thing, and we become better, in our relationship, getting deeper, more, meaningful, even as we age.
Yeah.
And also with, I think like communication, because we're talking about unmet expectation, right? And I think like in general, when you don't communicate properly, when you have this unfulfilled, things in your heart, and you keep building up and you keep building up, I think sometimes you begin to doubt even yourself. And I think this is so important, because sometimes, like, even in relationship or in any given situation, if you always feel like they never get me, they never understand me, they are never, or that person never fulfilled my expectation, what happened is you begin to doubt yourself, that am I good enough?
Yeah.
Am I not good? You begin to doubt yourself, and I think that is the beginning of like destruction. Because
However, can I interject? Because
Yes.
I would also say that it is good to evaluate yourself,
of course.
and to see, am I the problem?
Yeah.
I think that's a very important question we have to ask, because we've had situations in our life where certain things kind of kept happening over and over again. Like, it happened there, then we went into a different situation, kind of similar things happened again and again. And then it's certainly time where we have to,
Question
pause
ourselves,
and say, hey, how come this keeps happening to us? Are we doing something wrong?
Yeah.
And you really have to ask yourself these hard questions, and then be, how to say,
Be willing to change.
be willing.
Yes, if you know that you're
be
wrong.
willing to admit, hey, yes, this was completely my fault, or, I'm definitely having a part in this to play. To just also look at yourself kind of objectively, and, ask yourselves these questions, and then also, if necessary, change and make adjustments, So that's different from doubting yourself and giving up and all of that. But I think it's very crucial that we keep on evaluating ourselves and seeing, am I still on the right path? And for us, that's the path that God has for us. Are we still in God's will? Are we still doing what God has called us to do? Or are we, trying to take a shortcut? Or, are we making decisions based out of emotions and things like that? So those are all very important questions that we have to ask ourselves.
Yes, and I think one of the very common question that we ask ourselves, not us, but in general as human being, is like, why never good things happening to me? Why good things are not happening to me? Why I'm praying for this and things are not happening? I'm working so hard for this and things are not happening for me. And I think I have seen people, even including my life, including me, that looking or expecting something and things are not happening the way I wanted it. And so how do we deal with that situation?
That is also disappointing, for sure.
Yeah.
But again, you would have to, where does that come from? Generally, I would say it comes from comparison. Because we look at somebody else or somebody else's life, and we compare our life with them, and we want the same, or we want similar things or something like that. So I think we really have to break it down, go down to the most simple thing, is there breath in my lung? Is my heart beating? Is the blood flowing? One thing to be grateful
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So I'm still breathing,
Yeah.
I'm still waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you, God.
Yeah.
And yes, maybe everything around me is like falling apart, or, but I'm breathing. So there is still purpose.
Yeah.
As long as I'm breathing, there's still purpose.
Yeah.
And, it's hard if you have no one, that's for sure, because
Yeah.
I do have to say that, if you have someone in your life that's walking alongside you, and
Yeah.
that could be a partner, that could be family, that could be friends.
Yeah.
If you don't have that, I do understand that it's really,
Very
really
tough.
difficult.
Yeah.
But maybe you do have someone, maybe what I've also realized is that many times we are also too proud sometimes to ask for help. There are people usually in our lives that love us,
Yes.
and sometimes it's on us to ask for help,
Yeah.
right? People don't always, especially in the Western culture, I'm not trying to excuse that, but in the Western culture, it's a little bit different than the Asian culture. So we are very individualistic. And that doesn't mean that we don't care for others, but unless somebody else is asking for help, I might not jump into
Yeah.
somebody's life and try to help, because I would feel I'm trying to micromanage him, and I'm diminishing his value because he might think I know everything better, and so
Yeah,
I
also,
don't.
It's the way you give space to other person.
Yeah, unless he asks.
Yeah.
So sometimes when somebody's asking me, Christine, I need help. Can you pray for me? Can you go shopping for me? Can you cook for me? Or whatever it is, whatever practical help, I will do it.
That's
But
the way.
sometimes
yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
do it just myself, because I might feel I'm stepping into
Yeah.
that person's, as you said, space or private, space, and if they need help, they will ask for it. So sometimes it's hard to ask for help, but I would encourage everyone, if you're alone, if you don't have anyone, and you feel like, you can't do this anymore, ask for help. I'm almost 100% sure there's at least one person, probably more, in your life that are
willing to-
very much willing to help.
Yeah.
You just need to ask.
That's a very good one. Yes. And sometimes asking is difficult.
It is difficult.
And I think it's difficult for me sometimes to ask for help. And I'm always, not always, but most of the time confronted by you say, hey, you need to ask, because sometimes I feel like, it's so small. Why should I ask? I'll figure it out. And I think,
Yeah.
but just asking is definitely, sometimes not asking is pride.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And, and asking is humility. And
Yeah.
that means sometimes we need to humble ourselves and say, hey, I am, beyond my strength, beyond my capability, capacity. I'm not able to do it. I need help,
I
and
need
I
help.
think that's very, very, very good. In that way, somebody can jump in and help you in your vision, in your life, to help you, direct you.
Yeah.
In that way you can avoid disappointment.
Yeah.
And I
Or
think that's
it
good.
can be a simple thing in, helping, asking someone to help you, as I said, cook a meal for you, or because if you are tired, or help you set up your garden, or whatever, practical things as well. We don't have
Yeah.
to talk about the, deep soul,
Yeah.
amazing,
Yeah.
life-changing things. Even the small practical things, I think this is
Yeah.
especially hard for maybe you also, because you think, I'll manage, I'll just find my way.
Which it's not that I cannot, but sometimes it's too much, and then we stress out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing.
It also accumulates, right?
Yes, it
All the small
accumulates,
things,
yes,
it accumulates,
exactly.
and
Yeah. Anyway, so
then going back to the topic,
Yes.
you'll be disappointed, let's say, if
Yeah.
I don't offer.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking he's managing, and
Yeah.
he always does. And if he doesn't tell me that he needs help, I would assume, which is also, of course, I should ask him.
The Western mind.
Yeah, but that's why communication is always both ways. So he should ask me for help. At the same time, I can also say, hey, honey, do you need help?
That is where
So-
communication comes in.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
communication is not one way, it's
It's
a
a
two-way
two-way-
channel.
Yeah.
One person has to reach out for help. The another person also be willing to offer, saying,
Yeah.
how can I help you?
Yeah.
And I think it works this way,
Yeah.
and you cannot always sit quietly and thinking that somebody else will come and help you. And what happens is when you have this unspoken expectation, that leads to disappointment.
Yeah.
And I think this is very important that we communicate. So another thing
Exactly.
that you point out is also being thankful. Being thankful that you're breathing, you're alive, you're healthy, and all of those are important.
Health, very important
and
one.
then reaching out for help,
Yeah.
for whatever that you need. And I think one thing we can talk about is also what happened how to deal when somebody is, when somebody disappoints you, somebody
Yeah.
above you, somebody you look up to, and when they disappoint you, when your expectations are not met. Let's say you try everything you can from your side, and then still, somebody from above is like hurting you, or even,
Let's say in the
not,
leadership,
yeah,
like your leadership in
or even not treating you
setting.
well the way you are supposed to be treated.
Yeah.
How do we deal with that? And I think this is a very important context, because if you come from, even I think it works everywhere in the world, but sometimes authority is a good thing, but also sometimes if you misuse your authority,
Yeah.
you can really abuse people.
Yes.
And I think how do we deal with that if we are, let's say, in the position of you're a follower,
Yeah.
authority above you?
There are a lot of aspects when it comes to that. Of course, I would say if there is any sign of abuse, and whatever abuse that is, that abuse has many facets, I would say.
Yeah.
There is, obviously
Sexual
abuse or physical.
Spiritual abuse.
Also really, really dangerous.
Yes.
If there is abuse, you need to remove yourself from that situation,
Yes.
because that's unhealthy. It's going to destroy you. Seek help.
You need to
Get out of
really
there.
get out and
Yes.
seek help. In a sense, you need to communicate with somebody who can help you.
Yes.
Who
So
has to, yeah.
there, don't stay, because that's very, very dangerous. You're gonna break down and you're gonna be destroyed. So that is not God's will, right?
Yeah.
To be in abuse. But I would say if you're dealing with disappointment when it comes to other people other than your spouse, but it can even apply to your spouse. I just want to tell one story, like how God helped me in a situation where I was basically, it's not someone who was above me, but it was someone that I was doing a training with. And so I really didn't like the person, right? I didn't like the person, and this person just kind of annoyed me. I didn't like the way that the person
Doing things.
did things or talked, or, so every time I saw the person, I was like, eye roll, and don't want to work together with them and things like that. And at one point, God really convicted me and said, pray for that person. And I was like, no, I don't want to. Why? I really didn't want to pray for that person. And that says a lot, like, who am I?
Yeah.
Right? Who am
It
I?
reveals
Who
your
was I
character.
thinking? Yeah.
Yeah. Your
I
heart.
was like, oh man. So, didn't want to, but I started praying for that person. And I started praying for that person every day, just faithfully praying. And in the beginning, it was like reluctantly, oh, bless that person, but then it became more of a habit. And I did really mean it, I would say, because I really felt the pull from God to pray for that person. And just to be very clear, that person didn't abuse me. That person was not a bad person.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't vibe with that person. It's a long time ago, right? I was like early 20s, So I was also not very mature. Not that I'm now, but, So, and I kept praying for that person. And many weeks and months later, I was, staying with that person along with many others. I started to realize that somehow that feeling that I had towards the person just kind of, it was not there anymore. And I mean, long story short, we ended up becoming friends. And I'm not saying it is always going to end like this, but because I started praying for the person, I was able to see them with just different eyes than just my own eyes. I was starting to see them with God's eyes, and I prayed specifically for that every day. God, please help me to see them with your eyes, your eyes of love. And it really changed me.
Yeah, I think that's
Right?
that's the power of prayer,
Yeah.
Because sometimes we ask God to change the situation. But sometimes in that situation, it is not necessarily, it needs to change the situation. It needs to change the heart of the person. And I think
Me,
that
not
was,
the others.
yeah, so that was really
So
good.
it
God
starts
was,
with
yeah,
that, it
yeah,
starts with me humbling myself,
yeah,
being willing to let go of my pride. Again, bring it to God. And in that situation, it really helped me, and it was fine. And, in the end, we became friends, and we were connected for a long time, and it was really special. And it was something that God
yeah,
gave me as a gift,
yeah.
And I started to realize the importance and the power of prayer, through that as well. So I learned an important lesson,
Yeah.
So it worked for in this case, but I'm not saying, prayer is also not magic, It's not a magic stick that you wave around and everything will change, because it really
Yeah.
only changed me
Yeah,
also.
that is the power of prayer. As I said,
Yeah.
like, of course, prayer can change things. God is, God is awesome, all powerful, and God can do the impossible.
Yeah.
He can change the situation, but many times God also change our hearts so that
God
we can,
changes
yes,
us,
so that
exactly.
we can see things differently with
Yeah.
His eyes. Because most
Yeah.
of the time we see things with our own eyes.
Yeah, of course.
And that also lead us to disappointment.
And based on
Yeah.
our experience,
Yeah.
So I've experienced, disappointment so many times. So, my expectation is also based on that. And, the way I interact with women or with men is based on my, experience of life and things like that. So that all plays a role.
Yeah.
And also when it comes to, let's say, leadership, leaders that we serve, or, of course we should serve God, but you know what I mean, when we are in ministry or when we are, doing things like that,
Even in the
of
corporate
course,
world.
yeah, or your boss, or you have experience, and based on that, you also go into a new place or a new situation. But you always, need to come in fresh, just with a fresh, clean slate. Be willing to learn, be willing to be humble, and just pray for the people that you serve with, that you work with, and even the ones who are above you as such, in authority, leadership, whatever it is. Pray for them. And again, I want to say, if you're disappointed because of your expectations and things like that, find a way of communication, because it can solve a lot of problems. But if there is abuse, please get out.
That's right. Yeah.
Get out, be safe, find a way to communicate to someone who can help you, heal properly, be restored. All of that is very important, because if you're abused, and that's a very horrible form of disappointment,
Yes.
because that's a broken trust and all those kind of things that come along with it. That's a whole different topic also, but there you need to have professional help,
Yeah.
people that can help you deal with it so that you can
Yeah.
become whole and healthy and restored, so that you don't carry this for the rest of your life. I mean, you will always carry it to some extent because it happened to you. It's not like you magically forget, but you are able to deal with it properly, not to carry it with you and try to bury it somewhere and just move on, or, so
Yeah.
I think that's also a very important factor.
Yeah, I mean, as we have already talked about this, we can also close it, but we can have a few more thoughts and then we'll stop. But I think as we have talked about it, that in life there's gonna be disappointment.
Oh, yes.
You may be working with the best person on earth. You think, the person is the best leader, the best friends or whatever. Because there are people bring disappointment.
Yep, it's like that.
And because you are there, you also bring disappointment to people.
Yes.
And so disappointments will be everywhere. We cannot escape from it.
Yeah.
We have to learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
We cannot run away from disappointment, but as disappointment comes, we also need to learn to deal with it.
Yes.
And I think that is a very important thing. And one of the things you say, if the leaders, let's say above you are maybe you're disappointed because of them, one thing is communicate with them. If they don't hear it, maybe pray about it and leave it. go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Find where somebody who can help you out.
Yeah.
You know, if you are disappointed in the marriage, in your relationship, talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, get help from somebody else who can speak into your life.
Yeah.
And I think these are important things. If you're disappointed about your life, that you are not going anywhere, maybe you are not really listening to God. Maybe you are not really spending time enough to find that purpose for you. Because one of the biggest disappointment in life in general, like that we are disappointed, is because many times we are not living in God's purpose.
Yeah.
Because when we don't live in God's purpose, we are bored. We just don't know what is going on in our life. We don't have any drive
And
to
no
do
purpose.
something, and no
That does
purpose, you know.
something
And
to
I
you,
think
yeah.
that is also one of the key important thing. And that's why, again, we talk about communication, also communication with God.
Yeah.
You know, really pray and ask God, because the Bible says that God has purpose for us.
Yeah.
And I think for us in general, if we haven't find that purpose, if we are not living in that purpose, not that we figure out everything today, but if we haven't really seek out from the beginning itself and to live in that, in His purpose, I think life would be very different today.
Yeah.
You know, in fact, that we are happy as married couple, as parents, raising our kids, doing what, you know, enjoying what we do, is because first of all, we put God in our life, and
Yeah.
that we seek His purpose every day.
Yeah.
And that doesn't stop, like, you know, like it's not a one day thing, you know, that every day we wake up and we pray. We pray for ourselves. Either we read Bible, you know, we encourage our kids to read their Bible, to pray alone, you know, because those are important,
Yeah.
you know, so God can take us step by step.
Yeah.
Because God will not reveal our future, you know, for the rest of our life in one go.
Yeah.
You know,
Usually.
He revealed. Sometimes it's just one hour at times, you know, or sometimes it's for the day,
Yeah.
or sometimes for a week, for a month, for seasons, you know.
Yeah.
So we just need to learn to really bring before God and say, God, this is what's going on. I need your help.
Yeah.
You know, and many ways we can learn to deal with our disappointment
Yeah.
through prayers.
Yeah.
You know.
I think that's really also what's holding us up
To
above the water, I
Yes.
would say, you know, because also in the last, I would say, 2-3 years, probably
Has been tough.
2, 3, 4 years,
Yeah.
you know, there have been so many disappointments in our life.
Yes.
Things that we thought would play out a certain way didn't play out.
The way we wanted it.
We made
Yeah.
plans and it just didn't work out according to the plans, even though we even had felt, you know, it was God's will for us. And probably it was, you know,
Yeah.
cannot say like 100%, you know, but
Yeah.
we feel like a lot of it was God's plan, but sometimes
Yeah.
the situation, the people around, the situations around,
Yeah.
they don't all follow God.
And we
right?
don't have control over it.
We don't have control over other people and the choices they make, you know. And if people start shooting each other, you know, we don't control them. And if they don't listen to what God has for their life and they make their own selfish decisions, it's affecting us, you know. But does that mean that God is no longer with us? Does that mean that God's purposes have changed for us? No.
Yeah.
I would say no.
Yeah.
But sometimes the situations change and it disappoints us, you know, that we have to, you know, take a different route or, you know, change our path or change the place we live, you know. These were all big disappointments for us.
And we are still dealing with it.
And we are still dealing with it every day, and it's not easy. But God is still the same God.
Yes.
He's still on the throne. He still reigns.
Yes.
He's still sovereign. He's still holding us, our kids, our family in His hands. And so He is with all of our loved ones. But everybody has a choice that they make, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes my own choices bring disappointment when I make the wrong choices.
Or when somebody
Or
else
when
make
other people are making their own free will choices, it brings disappointment to me. And the way that I deal with it is just again and again, you know. First of all, probably I would cry, you know, and that's also valid. And sometimes it helps a lot.
Yes.
Like I've cried a lot the last few years, you know, more than the previous years, I guess. To cry, to share with someone, and that's why it's important if you have someone,
Yeah.
I share, I just let it out, and then just keep on going back to God and just like
Yeah.
holding on to his promises. God,
Yeah.
you told me this,
Yeah.
this, you told me you're with me. You never leave me. You never forsake me. I stand on that promise, and I am not willing to, let go of that promise. I've experienced in 2015 and 2000
Yeah.
and
Just
then
reminding
that,
ourselves. Yeah.
I've experienced you. I felt you. I know that you're with me. I know that you hold me in your hands, and just hold me now. Hold me now and never let me go. And just day by day, just
Yeah.
day by day. And he is close to the brokenhearted.
Yes.
He is the one who
Yeah.
is just there,
Yeah.
He holds us in the
Yeah.
palm of his hand, and he loves us, And that's how we deal with disappointment, Just sticking together,
Yeah.
As a couple, as a family.
Yeah.
I would
And
say
sticking to God. Yeah.
the disappointments of the last few years have also, brought us together as a family,
Yeah.
for sure. And of course, more than anything, just stick close to God, closer than
Yeah.
ever before. And that's how we deal with
Yeah.
disappointment.
Yeah. Well, that's what the Bible says. Draw near to me, and I will draw near to you.
And that's the promise.
In a sense that when we draw close to God, we will sense, His presence. And I think that's very important. And the good thing is also that, when things happen to us, when we face disappointment, God is not surprised,
Yeah.
because God is above everything, and God knew it, and He also knew how to take care of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's a wonderful thing, wonderful promise we have in God, that when we face disappointment, we can go before God.
Yeah.
And God is not surprised, and He's not too small to not take care of us.
Yes.
He's so big, much bigger than our problems.
And disappointments happen because people might think, why is God allowing this? Because we all have a free will.
Yeah.
Everybody has a free will, and most of the disappointments come because of decisions of people.
The wrong choices we make
Yes.
as human beings.
Yes.
And I think this is the problem. And that's why in this world we'll have disappointment, we'll have troubles. But Jesus said,
Jesus has
overcome
overcome the
it, yeah.
world. And so we
Yes.
stick to him,
yeah,
then we're on a good path.
that don't let your heart be troubled. That's
Yes.
what the Bible says. I think that's a very good thing. So I want to encourage you guys, as you listen to this, and we are really pouring out our heart, and you'll face disappointment, but don't forget that God is with you. Even
Yeah.
in your highs, in your lows, God is with you at all time, and He will help you when you reach out to Him. And
Yes.
then we have people around us, we can reach out, ask for help.
Ask for help.
So that's important. Anyway,
And communicate.
communicate. Yes, that's what it means. So anyway, thank you for
Listening?
listening. And I think this is a very interesting topic for us. And if you have more questions about what we can talk about, please shoot in or write it in the comment section so that we can talk about it. Not that we know everything, but we want to share our heart
share
to
our
you.
heart.
And just connect with you. So thank you again. Please share with other people, subscribe to this channel,
Yes.
and we'll come back again.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
guys.